Hi everybody, I'm going to take some time today and work on my space shooter game a little bit more. This is what we left off with. I crewed my ship, I could shoot, and enemies are coming down the screen. Okay, today let's do some stuff like adding sounds, maybe adding some collision detection. So the first thing I'll do is I'll add the, for the player shot, when the shot hits an enemy that it'll make a sound, and let's do that. So I went online and I found some sounds from freesound.org. Alright, but I found some already, and I put them in my resources folder. So the resources folder is a special folder, and it has to be named resources. And with this folder, I could actually load a sound from a script. And I made a function called createaudiosource. Do that with the shot. So the shot is a prefab thing that's spawned, so it's not in the scene. I gotta look at my prefabs folder, and let me double click on player shot to edit the prefab of a player shot. And then over here, okay, I guess I kind of cheated ahead. I kind of wrote some code already. So there's the file for the player shot and the file for the explosion, and they have some default values, like the file for the player shot sound in the resources folder, it's called player shot, and the file for the explosion sound is explosion. So I have the names of those things, and then I'm also going to have the audio source component that I could like call and play the sound. So I'll say audio source, or I'll call it like AUD for audio component player shot equals null, and then I'll have a private audio source audio explosion equals null. In the start function I have this, but you know, funny stuff happens when I instantiate game objects during runtime, so I'm not going to put this initializing these two components in the start. I'm going to make a property like I did for these guys. So I'll have private audio source my player shot. If odd player shot equals null, then we'll try it, then we'll create it. Okay, and to create it, I just have that function down below. Where is it? This one, create audio source. So we'll just call this, and it'll kind of create the audio source at runtime with the script. So create audio source, and what does it want? It wants the audio source component object, a reference to it because it's going to change its value. Odd player shot, and it wants the file name, file player shot. And that'll create it, and then after that I can return the audio player shot object. And I just do the same thing, but I'm going to do it for the other sound that I have, the explosion sound. Okay, so now I have my my two references to the component. So this loads the sound, and then you'll see it in the component that it had the audio source there with the clip. So where do I want to play the sounds? Well, the first one is the player shot sound. I'll play it when the shot is activated, right? So the shot is activated, it does all this stuff, and then it could do my player shot dot play, just play the sound. Okay, simple as that, to play that sound then. And the other sound we want to play when the shot collides. So there's a from the mono behavior thing that our script derives from, there's an event just like start and update called on collision enter. And here we want to play the sound. Player, what sound we want to play? We'll play the explosion sound. So my explosion sound dot play. We'll play the explosion sound when the shot hits. When the shot hits, then we probably want to deactivate the shot too, right? Because it hit, the shot's over. So let's see, the deactivate is an IEnumerator, so you can only call deactivate shot like a code routine like this. So let me grab that and copy, and then I'll call deactivate shot. Now the originally when deactivate shot was called in the activate, you know, the shot activates and the shot's going to be alive for like 1 second, right? So in deactivate shot, it waits that 1 second and then deactivates. But now when I collided, I don't want any time at all. I just want it to be 0. What happened? Oops. I want this one to be 0. So here on the collision enter, I want it to immediately deactivate, so I just give it a value of 0. All right, so for now we got two sounds. All right, we got the shot sound and the activate shot that it plays that, and we got the explosion sound when the shot collides. And we type this code. Let's save it and let's go to Unity and try it out. Let's see what's up. There's a shooting sound. Now let's collide. There you go. So that's cool. Now let's do another thing. When we collide, when the shot collides with the enemy, that we want the enemy to deactivate too. So that's going to be on the enemy script that I think we'll add on collision enter. And if the enemy collides, then we'll have the enemy deactivate. How do we know if it's going to be the shot that it collides with? I guess we could identify game objects by things. So the player shot, it's on the layer player shot, and it could be tagged as something. I could add to the list and say new tag. I'm going to say player shot. Okay. Then when I go back to the player shot, how do I get back here? Okay, player shot. I could tag this thing that this game object is called a player shot game object. Okay, file, save. And while I'm at it, oh, let me tag the enemy as well too. So let me double click on the enemy and let's give it a tag, add a tag, add another one here, call it enemy, save. And then how do I get back? I'll just double click. Okay, here, enemy, and now I'll call this an enemy. And the player will tag it as player. All these words here, they mean nothing. They're just a description for something I'm tagging it as. So don't think because I named it player that that's going to attach a player. Now, here in the collision on the enemy, when the enemy collides with something, I could check the tag. So if collision.gameObject.compare tag to player shot equals true, now I know I hit a player shot game object. Now I could do stuff. So the thing I want to do is deactivate the enemy, and this one I could just call it straight, and the enemy would disappear right away. Let's play and see what that looks like. So here they come. So that's good, things are happening. What else we want to do? Let's take a moment and let's do a scoreboard. So for the scores, so let me just add a empty game object, and I'm going to call it level controller. And then in the level controller, I'm just gonna add some text. I want textmeshpro. So there you go. Now, if textmeshpro is not imported into your project, if the package isn't imported, then the moment you try to add the textmeshpro game object, it's going to ask you to import it. I just want the essentials. Now, here's the textmeshpro object. This one I'm going to say is the text score, keeping score. You kind of see this outline here because the text is like a 2D thing, and this is a scene that's in 3D, so it kind of displays funny here in the scene view. So I'm going to look at it in the game view, and bam, now you see the text. When I added the textmeshpro object, it added 3 objects. Here's the level controller, which is a game object I made. And then in that, it added the canvas, and then it added the textmeshpro text object. It also added the event system. So adding text to a scene added 3 different objects. But here's the text object that I added. Now by default, it's showing like here in the middle of the screen. But I want it kind of to show up here in the corner. So I'm going to use this little box here. I press on the mouse and you get these things. And I could hold the Alt key. I'm going to anchor the score up to the top right corner. So the positions are coming off of the top right corner, minus 100. The top right corner, minus 25. So for example, let me just do some example text here. And you see how it doesn't have enough space to put on the same line. But then here in the X, I could move it over some more. So I'm going to make the width of the control like 250. And then this should be able to hold my scores. And then the other thing I want to display is probably like lives, like how many lives you have. So let me do a thing where I'm just going to duplicate, but I'll name this one text lives. This one will say like lives. Now that's right on top of the other one. So let me just take the lives one and just move it down a little. So what's going to update these score displays? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make another script, but this script is going to be a global script that's seen from everywhere. Okay, so right here, I'll call this my global. It's a static script I'm going to make it. So if I double click on globals, of course, by default, it's deriving off amount of behavior. So I'm not going to derive off amount of behavior. I'm going to gut this out over here. And this is going to be a public static class. I'm calling it globals. So static means that I don't have to use the new command to use this class. I'll show you for example. For example, I want to keep a score. So I'll have public static score and public static int lives. Now from within the scripts, I could update their values. So say with the player shot, when I collide with the player shot, I could say globals, because that's the name of my class, dot, and you see it has lives and score right here. So I could say score plus equals 10, right? 10 points per shot that I hit. Same thing in the player. I could say player collides, collision enter, globals dot lives minus equals 1. I change these values. It doesn't mean the numbers are going to change on the screen. I have to like write something to do that. In the globals, I will have public text mesh pro. It doesn't know what this is. Text mesh pro. Let me put the mouse over there. Show potential fixes. I gotta use TM Pro. textmeshpro UI GUI object, text score, and these are going to be static. And then there's the public static textmeshpro GUI text lives equals no. No, they're not going to be public, they're private. And then publicly, we're going to call the like a property. So this, I'll just call it underscore. And then public, I'll have a textmeshpro UI GUI text score, and then in here there'll be a get. If text score equals no, then we're going to get it. So text score equals game object dot find in the scene the game object named text score dot get component textmeshpro UI GUI. That will define the object, and then I just return text score. Why is this like squiggly? It says cannot declare instance members in a static. Oh, I gotta say static. Sorry. Then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other control, the other text control, text lives. Now if I go back to the player shot where it increased the score, then I could say globals dot text score dot text equals score plus globals dot score dot to string. So here's the thing. If everywhere the score, all these different places in my code are going to be adding score, should I put the score addition and display here, or should I put it in my globals? So I think I'm going to put this in my globals class, so everywhere that calls it, the score will update and have the same appearance. So I'm going to make a public static update score, and then there'll be an integer value. And then in here, I could say the global stores plus equal to value, and and display all that stuff. Public static void update score, and then public static void update lives. So we got these two, update score, update lives. So now in player shot here, I could just call globals dot update score and say whatever, the value of 10. And then in the player, I could say globals dot update lives -1. Let me make a quick sound for when the player gets hit. So I'm gonna use my Audacity. It's a free audio editing tool, Audacity. Okay, I'm just gonna press record and make a sound. Oh! So file, and then I'm gonna export this audio that I made. It's a WAV file. Let me make sure I'm going to the right folder. Player hit. Export. So now in the player script, I guess I want to do the same thing about audio source. Oh, okay. I was doing work before. I'm gonna overwrite this work. File, player hit, and then audio source, aud player hit. And then I'll do the thing. Well, now this script is the player script. So this is not being instantiated like the other ones are. This one is just right here. I'm gonna say aud player hit and file player hit to load it up right here. And this create audio source, go to definition, is right here in the script. Now this create audio source is probably going to be happening on a lot of game objects, right? So it's a candidate for a function that could go in my global script. I'm going to copy it from here. I'm going to see if I can make a globals version of this. So it's going to be public static. It can have all these things, but it needs one more thing. It needs the game object that it's going to be adding the component on. Because over here it was this when I was in the script, but now I'm not in the script. So over here it's G object. I am. Let's try it first on the player. Then I delete the script version of the create audio source. And then up here I use the globals.create audio source. And I give it a reference to this. But I don't think you could do ref this. So let me go back to my definition over here and let me take off the ref word and see if it works like that. Like game object is not going to use ref, I guess, right? Okay, that seems to be working. So that works here. Now in the player shot, let me do the same thing. In player shot, I'll get rid of the one that's in the script. So this will be this dot game object, and it's globals create audio source. Bam, good, no red squigglies. Globals dot create audio source, this dot game object. Now let's go ahead and play. So what am I going to hear different now is there's going to be a sound on the player shot. If the player gets hit, if I get hit, there's going to be a sound, and we're going to see the scores update. So the game starts to play. 10, 20. How come I only have 2 lives? Did I get hit? Oh, I got 1 life. Yeah, so every time I get hit, bam, a life goes away. And every time my shot gets hit, the score adds. Alright, cool. We're making progress, people. Let's do some kind of action when I get hit. So we go into the player, into the on collision. We did lose a life. Oops, I didn't make the sound. odd player hit dot play. We're gonna play a sound. Oh, okay. Oops. Oh. Well, I'm thinking about what I should do when I get hit. I'm still thinking. The enemies are red. I'm just gonna make the floor red too. Whoops. Here's a red material. Oh, I'm in the game view. Make the floor red too. And the red floor, let me change this. Yeah, you see how it makes that kind of cool thing background. Metallic or not, doesn't matter. I just wanted to, just got tired of looking at the gray floor. I think what I'll do is if I get hit, I'll do a thing where like the ship kind of resets its position to its original position, then the game continues. Okay, I think I'll do that. The player resetting. So on collision enter, it does the lives, it does the hit, and then let's do player reset. Let's make a function for it, and then I'll just add it here, private void player reset. And to reset, we're gonna have to know what was our original position in the first place. So here in the variables for the script, I'll have a vector 3 reset position, and I'll have a private quaternion reset rotation. And where do we get these positions of rotation? We'll get it from when the game starts. So we'll say that reset position will equal a new vector 3 of this dot transform dot position x, position y, position z, and then we'll make the reset rotation equal a new quaternion of this dot transform dot rotation dot x, y, z, and w. When I reset, I can reset the position. Reset rotation. When I get hit, let me just check that out and check out my fabulous new red color. Okay, here they come. Let's get hit. Oh! Yep, and I got reset. Oh! My position got reset. Oh! Oh! Alright. I'm not sure how much time this video is gone. Maybe I'll stop this video and I'll make another video and I'll do explosions on all the collisions. So I'm gonna stop this video here and I'll meet you guys after I take a break for lunch. Bye.